It gets better. I get two screens.
You okay?
No, not yet. Hold on. It's still downloading.
Just don't mess our screens.
No, I'm not touching over there. I'm working on the other one.
Brad, we held that bill for you Tuesday, but you never came back.
I was 5 minutes late when I got hold of Darlene, and I was able to call the president's office and register my vote. So
That's great. That's great. We did mention that you wanted to testify and we're in favor of the bill. So
thank you. Thank you.
I didn't like it when the rest of the people were saying before he gets back, though, Brad.
That's okay. I appreciate somebody standing up for me.
You're all set, ready to roll.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the public hearing this afternoon. We'll be hearing two bills of the Transportation Committee. We appreciate you being with us. Before we start, a couple of housekeeping. We want to remind everybody this is an electronic meeting, and so please be patient. We always seem to have a few challenges, but thanks to our clerk, Darlene Simoneau, we get through them rather quickly. This meeting is being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel, and all participants via Zoom can be seen and heard if the mic is on. Testifiers cannot be seen and heard until they're recognized by the chair. Meeting is also recorded and available on the committee's YouTube after the meeting is concluded. Remind everyone to check and make sure your name is displayed on the Zoom and the same as you registered. And a reminder to the committee members that Zoom chat is not designed nor should be used for any substantive conversation. The public hearings this afternoon will be presented first by the sponsor, followed by any co-sponsors that wish to speak, followed by the public in the following order. Those who are testifying as proponents will testify first. Those who are testifying as opponents will be second, followed by those testifying neither for nor against. When called upon, you'll be promoted from attendee to participant. And when you've finished, unfortunately, you'll go back to attendee status. When called upon, make sure your mic is unmuted. State your name and your residence, and any associations, affiliations that you are associated with. All individuals who wish to testify must register in advance of the public hearing in order to be called upon to testify. If you're using video, you will be sent an attendee invitation to the Zoom webinar via email. If you're testifying by phone, you will use the Zoom toll-free number associated with this meeting. And a reminder too that the public, you can only speak once, and you also, the public is not allowed to ask questions. That's strictly for the committee members. And now we'll introduce the committee members, and so we all can make sure you all know who we are. And we'll start with Senator Brad Farren. Good afternoon, Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Brad Farren, live in Norridge Walk and represent the majority of Somerset County and the town of Rome in Kennebec County.
Thank you, Senator Ben Chipman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Senator Ben Chipman. I represent Senate District 27, which is most of the city of Portland. It's the entire peninsula, Back Cove, and East Deering neighborhoods, as well as 9 islands that are part of the city. It's great to be with you today.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Wayne Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Wayne Perry. I represent House District 10, which covers Arundel, Dayton, and most of Lyman.
Thank you, Representative Perry. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Lynn Williams. I represent House District 135, which is Bar Harbor, Mount Desert, and Lemoyne.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Representative Dustin White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Dustin White. I represent 10 towns in central Aroostook County, and I'm from Mars Hill.
Thank you, and that's an inviting background you have, Representative White.
Pretending I'm at the farm today.
Representative Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Mike Perkins. I represent District number 77. That's Oakland and Sydney.
Thank you, Representative Perkins. Representative Mark Bryant.
Thank you, Senator. I represent House District 20 of the town of Wyndham. I'm Representative Mark Bryant. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Bruce White.
Yes, thank you, Senator Diamond. And I am Representative Bruce White, District 109, which is half of Waterville.
Thank you. Representative Tom Martin will be joining us he'll be a little bit late, but he'll be here with us. Representative Kevin O'Connell
He's not here.
is not here. Representative Rich Seabrook,
Not here.
not here. And House Chair, Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Danny Martin. I represent House 150 located in northern Aroostook County.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my name is Bill Diamond. I'm a senator from Senate District 26. I live in Wyndham, and my Senate district circles Sebago Lake. Our analysts for this committee, we're proud to say, is Sam Prower and Karen Netto and Suzanne Voynick when we do budgets, as we're doing today. And Darlene Simino is our committee clerk. We will now open the public hearing on LD 162.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought we were doing 234 first.
No.
162 is listed first, I believe.
Yeah, it is. You had asked about that, Darlene.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think I don't mind going for the ones two.
No, it's up to you.
Yeah, I think we're going to stick with what we said. We're going to go with LD 162, an act to make supplemental alterations. Oh,
Senator Diamond, sorry to interrupt. I just got a note from Representative O'Connell. He asked me to pass along to Darlene if she could resend the invite. He's trying to get on. He can't find his invite.
Okay.
okay. And those things happen. So we
Thank
certainly-
you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll proceed on as Darlene is working on that. Again, we're introducing LD 162, presented by Representative Martin. Is to make supplemental allocations from the highway fund and other funds for the expenditures of state government and to change certain provisions of the law necessary to the proper operations of state government for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2021, which, as we all know, this is the highway fund supplemental budget. So we will now recognize a sponsor, Representative Martin. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator Diamond and members of the Committee on Transportation. My name is Danny Martin, and I'm a state representative from House 150 and also a proud member of this great committee. I'm pleased to present on behalf of the governor, LD 162, an act to make supplemental allocation from the highway fund and other funds for the expenditure of state government and to certain provisions of the law necessary for the proper operation of state government for the year ending June 30, 2001. As I mentioned, this is the governor's bill and includes an emergency preamble, an emergency clause. The initiative, on the most part, relates to curtailments ordered by financial orders and also includes language contained in parts A, B, C, and D. As much as I'd like to attempt to answer any questions you may have, it is my understanding that personnel from their respective departments or agencies will be discussing these initiatives in detail. And I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Representative Martin. Are there questions from the committee of Representative Martin? Seeing none, thank you very much, Representative. Mr. Chair, we appreciate you doing that. We will go first to the DAF's commissioner. Commissioner Figueroa, is she available?
Yep, she's here.
Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. Welcome.
Can you hear me okay and see me? I am having some.
That's two affirmatives from here.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. It's nice to see the members of the committee, and I will get started. Good afternoon, Senator Diamond and Representative Martin and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Kirsten Figueroa. I am the Commissioner of the Department of Administrative and Financial Services. I'm here today to present the fiscal year 2021 Highway Fund Supplemental Budget Bill, LD 162. Governor Mills has submitted to the legislature a supplemental budget proposal for fiscal year 2021 and a biennial budget proposal for fiscal years 22 and 23 that focus on maintaining vital services and increasing savings without creating new programs. The budgets are balanced as required by the Constitution and include efficiencies, good fiscal management, and curtailments to cover projected revenue shortfalls for all 3 fiscal years. The budgets do not change main tax rates and do not dip into the Budget Stabilization Fund. The proposed budgets focus on combating COVID-19 by continuing to rebuild the state's public health infrastructure and protecting essential healthcare, education, and life-saving services. To summarize the current revenue picture for the Highway Fund, due to the substantial impacts of COVID-19, the Consensus Economic Forecasting Commission and the Revenue Forecasting Committee met for off-cycle reports during the summer. On September 9th, 2020, we identified strategies to put the Highway Fund budget back in balance, including a curtailment order later signed by Governor Mills, which reduced Highway Fund allotments by $23 million and by identifying $21 million in an available balance from fiscal year 20. As part of its traditional December report, thanks in large part to the stimulating impact of federal relief, the Revenue Forecasting Committee boosted its previously downgraded revenue forecast, projecting a $19.4 million shortfall for FY21 as a result of COVID-19, up from their originally predicted shortfall of $31 million. The supplemental budget proposes to deallocate the items outlined in the curtailment order signed by Governor Mills on September 17th, 2020, for a total of $23 million. These items are savings identified by the departments, including switching funding sources for departmental functions and managing expenses through hiring freezes for certain vacant positions, reduced spending on existing or future contracts, canceling conferences, postponing and reducing travel due to COVID-related moratoria, and delaying projects due to shifting priorities of state personnel. Curtailments also included savings from personal services expenses for public health and public safety employees, which were supported by the coronavirus relief funds pursuant to guidance provided by the U.S. Treasury. There have been a few changes since our original submission, and as such, there are 3 requests that we will ask you to vote out. The Department of Transportation will provide additional information in their testimony. Eliminating these requests will increase the projected fund balance at the end of this fiscal year, which will allow for an increase to a transfer in the 22-23 biennium to the TransCap Trust Fund in that budget's Part F. For the Department of Administrative and Financial Services, there are initiatives in the Buildings and Grounds Operation account on page 1 of the committee document, and 1 initiative in the Bureau of Revenue Services program on page 2. All of these initiatives were included in the curtailment. The Buildings and Grounds operations reductions relate to fuel and electricity savings as a result of reduced building occupancy during the pandemic, as well as some deferred maintenance supplies and materials savings. The Bureau of Revenue Services is personal services savings. Amid this deadly pandemic and quite unprecedented circumstances, we remain impressed at every turn with the ability to keep the ship steady and to make good on the promises of government, which, as you know, are to protect the well-being of our people and our institutions. We are proud of this work and appreciate your partnership in it. We welcome your questions and thank you for your support. And this concludes my testimony today. Thank you.
Commissioner. Before we go to questions, are you prepared just to take us down through each one of those initiatives in case the committee members have particular questions in preparation for work session? Right on page 1.
Sure. So read each line, you mean?
Yeah, each initiative, and then we'll see if there's any questions from the committee.
Okay, sure. The first initiative on page 1, actually the entire page 1 is in the Buildings and Grounds Operations account. The first initiative aligns our projected fuel cost to actual expenses. And that's a reduction of $22,500 for this fiscal year. The second initiative, I think that's reference number 7. We are managing some materials and supplies expenses for a reduction of 18,000. Reference number 8 defers some planned maintenance of buildings and grounds in this fiscal year for savings of $12,000. And then the final initiative in buildings and grounds is an adjustment of $4,376 for projected versus actual expenses in our electricity line. Again, as a result of reduced building occupancy as a result of the pandemic.
Thank you. I think any questions from the committee? Hold on, I gotta get to my committee members up here so I can see who's what. Any questions from the committee of the commissioner on those first 4 initiatives? Seeing none, Commissioner, we can go to the next under the revenue services. And those initiatives, I think there are 2.
There's just one, right? Is there just, I think I just have one initiative that reallocates a position from the highway fund to the general fund in the Bureau of Revenue Services on page 2 for savings of approximately $53,000.
Thank you. Are there questions from the committee of the commissioner? Seeing none, Commissioner, I guess we're okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate you being with us, and we look forward to talking to you again at the work session.
Yes. Take care.
Bye-bye. Next would be the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. Commissioner Shawchuk.
He's coming.
Okay.
Okay, he's on.
Commissioner, excuse me, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we look forward to your testimony.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Mike Sostruck, and I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. I am here today to testify in support of the Highway Fund Supplemental Budget LD 162. The first paragraph of our overall supplemental budget was covered by Commissioner Figueroa, so out of respect for your time, I'm going to jump over to the top of page 2. In FY20, the governor, DAFs, DPS, and all of the state government took immediate steps to manage the financial impacts of COVID-19. At DPS, we delayed hiring for short periods, reduced spending where we prudently could, and reached out to all of our employees to come up with ways to achieve immediate and ongoing cost savings. The overall purpose of this supplemental budget is to adjust the highway fund budget that will account for the revenue shortfall and balance the FY20, FY21 highway fund budget as required by the Maine Constitution. As a overview, DPS was established to serve the people by providing, coordinating, and leading a responsive and comprehensive public safety system to protect their lives, rights, and properties. This broad mission is accomplished with 625 positions spread across 10 bureaus. The bureaus are Administration, Capitol Police, Consolidated Emergency Communications, Emergency Medical Services, Fire Marshal's Office, Gambling Control, Highway Safety, Maine Criminal Justice Academy, the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency, and the Maine State Police. My testimony today will focus on our largest bureau, the Maine State Police. There are 4 Maine State Police related initiatives, which can be seen in section A3, beginning on page 4. All 4 of the initiatives are deappropriations related to savings achieved by utilizing coronavirus relief funds to support public health and public safety personal services costs as identified as an allowable use by the U.S. Treasury guidance for those funds. These initiatives were contained in the curtailment order signed by Governor Mills last fall. The Maine State Police Force provides full law enforcement services to areas that do not have their own police departments. Officers patrol the rural roads, interstate system, and the Maine Turnpike, enforcing motor vehicle laws and responding to accidents. They investigate all homicides and other major crimes that occur outside of Portland and Bangor. The Maine State Police operate a crime lab as well as other specialized enforcement services and maintains the criminal history records information system. The first initiative relates to a reduction in funding by using CRF funds to support public health and public safety personal services costs identified as an allowable use by the guidance from the United States Department of Treasury. This reduction is in our motor vehicle inspections division, and for FY21, the highway fund personal services line is decreased by $71,651. This reduction was due to the Maine State Police Sergeant position within the motor vehicle inspection division being eligible to use CRF funds. The next initiative relates to a reduction in funding by using CRF funds to support public health and public safety personal services costs identified as an allowable use by the guidance from the United States Department of Treasury. This reduction is in the Maine State Police for FY21, and the highway fund personal services line is decreased by $6,393,340. This reduction was due to the following positions in the Maine State Police being eligible to use CRF funds: State Police Sergeant, State Police Corporal, State Police Trooper, Detective, Lieutenant, Sergeant in charge of professional standards or in the professional standards unit rather, State Police Polygraph Examiner, State Police Polygraph Examiner Supervisor, Lieutenant in Internal Affairs, Public Service Managers 2, those are actually Maine State Police Majors, there are 2 of those, Deputy Chief of the Maine State Police or Lieutenant Colonel, and the Chief of the Maine State Police or Colonel Cody. The next initiative relates to a reduction in funding by using CRF funds to support public health and public safety personal services costs identified as an allowable use by the guidance from the United States Department of Treasury. This reduction is in our traffic safety division. In FY21, the highway fund personal services line is decreased by $490,021. This reduction was due to the following positions in the traffic safety division being eligible to use CRF funds: State Police Pilot Supervisor, State Police Pilot, and State Police Specialist. The final initiative relates to a reduction in funding by using CRF funds to support public health and public safety personal services costs identified as an allowable use by the guidance from the United States Department of Treasury. This reduction is in our traffic safety commercial vehicle enforcement division, and for FY21, the highway fund personal services line is decreased by $2,100,945. This reduction was due to the following positions in the traffic safety commercial vehicle enforcement division being eligible to use CRF funds: State Police Sergeant, State Police Corporal, and State Police Trooper. This concludes my testimony, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate that testimony. Of the $9,055,957 that qualifies for CRF, which we've shown here in these 4 initiatives, were there other CRF funds that did not qualify but are still applied to the department?
Yes, overall, DPS received $22,127,946 in CRF funding in FY21. The $9,055,957 was the amount that was available to the highway fund.
And the rest of that money was applied elsewhere within the department?
Yes, sir, through the general fund.
Thank you. Representative Martin has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, excellent presentation. My question is, just a $9 million cut. I realize that we're talking about the supplemental budget during this current fiscal year. However, for the next biennium, in your budget that we haven't yet discussed, have you reinstated that amount proportionally, or are you considering additional long-term cuts?
Yes, sir. We believe all of that money will be coming back into the 22-23 biennial budget.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee? Seeing none, Commissioner, we'll probably get in a little bit more of this during a work session. We'll look forward to having you back with us at that time, but thank you very much for your
Thank you for having me, sir. Appreciate it. Good to see everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good day.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the Secretary of State, Madam Secretary Bellows. We look forward to hearing her comments as well. Welcome.
It's not there yet.
Oh, okay.
There she is.
Hi,
Oh. Welcome, Madam Secretary. How are you today?
I am well. I'm pleased to be with all of you.
I want to tell you that we're pleased to have you with us, and your office looks so much better than it did prior to you being there. That includes myself. So thank you very, very much. You're doing
I'm still working on the couch, though.
I think so. Well-
Senator and former Secretary Diamond, Representative Martin, distinguished members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Shanna Bellows. I am the Secretary of State, and I am here today to present testimony in support of the items presented in the 2020-2021 supplemental budget. Bureau information begins on page 6 of the community document, and I'll start walking through the initiatives. Administration, motor vehicle.
Secretary, excuse me just a moment. For those members who may be looking at the 162 as printed, you would find what the secretary is going to talk about on A5.
Oh.
But it's not, that may be different than what you have, that's all.
Great, thank you so much, yes. So we'll start, it's Secretary of State, Department of Administration, Motor Vehicles, 0077. So this is initiative reference number 24. This initiative reduces funding one time to reflect projected actual expenses for contracted information technology services for hardware and software. This initiative relates to the curtailment orders in the financial order. The all other reduction is $120,000 in fiscal year 2020-2021. The explanation being that older technology hardware and software is being replaced with modern hardware, generating savings. Reference number 25, initiative. Reduces funding one time by managing one vacant staff development specialist for position until April of 2021. This initiative relates to the curtailments ordered. The personal services reduction is $61,826 in fiscal year 2020-21. This vacant staff development specialist for position has been reclassed to a human resources generalist position and is awaiting funding anticipated by April 2021. Reference number 26, initiative. Reduces funding one time by managing miscellaneous professional fees and services expenses within available resources, also related to the curtailment. The all other reduction is $13,632 in fiscal year 2021. Minimal impact expected. And then reference number 27, initiative, reduces funding one time to reflect projected actual expenses for out-of-state expenses. This initiative relates to the curtailment in the financial order, and the all other reduction is $4,542. Out-of-state travel is limited and being replaced with online webinars. Any questions on any of those initiatives?
Thank you, Madam Secretary, for your presentation. And for the committees, if it's a little easier for you following is on the budget that we received, it would be reference number starting at the top, 25, followed by 27, followed by 24, followed by 26.
Forgive me, my document looks very different.
Oh, you're right. I'm just acknowledging there is a difference, that's all. So I just wanted the committee members had those references in the right place.
And in your document, there is language, there's a language item as well in Part D.
Yes, you want to tell
Should
us?
I just explain
Yeah,
that?
we'll do that right now, and then we'll go to questions.
Okay. The language item in Part D authorizes the state comptroller to carry forward any unexpended balances in the personal services and all other line categories in the Department of Secretary of State Administration Motor Vehicles Program after all financial commitments for salary, benefits, and other obligations and budgetary adjustments have been made at the end of fiscal year 2018-19 to the all other category for the 2019-20 fiscal year, and at the end of the fiscal year 2019-20 to the all other line category for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. This is to be used for the procurement and implementation of hardware and software for computer modernization projects and provide funding for the increase in the statewide cost allocation plan or state cap obligations. That concludes my testimony on the governor's proposed supplemental budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions now or at the work session. And I'm joined, I was remiss in not mentioning my Director of Finance and Administration, Dave LaChance, and Deputy Secretary of State, Patty Morneau, who are also present and would be available now or at the work session to answer questions.
Thank you very, very much for that very fine presentation. Representative Martin has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great presentation, Madam Secretary. By now, your predecessor would share with us a history lesson on whatever. I also want to thank you for getting back to me last evening.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That was it, Mr. Chair? Yes. Are there other questions from the committee? If seeing none, we look forward to talking to you.
Hold on just a second. I'm trying to raise my hand and it's not raising.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for speaking up. Representative Perry has a question.
Yes, on that Part D, what's the total that's getting carried over for these computer programs and everything? It's just language and no dollars.
So the total is approximately, and Dave, I'm going to ask you to give this specific number, but I believe we're talking approximately 2.9 million. Is that correct, Dave? Dave LaChance is here.
Yes, it is. The exact number is 2,904,635.
Just real quick, now, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this money that's usually transferred into the highway fund after each budget? And if the department wants to spend money, it needs to be as an initiative, not just language that it automatically gets turned over?
So I'll let Dave speak to the experience. I did have a conversation with former Secretary Dunlap yesterday, and there has been a precedent for carryover in the past when there are specific needs. And I do want to speak to the STACAP need, which we, as you know, better than most, we have no control over the assessment for STACAP. That is approximately, and Dave can give the exact number, but it's approximately $1 million more than was previously budgeted. So we do need to carry over money to meet those obligations. As you know, we're a revenue generating department. We're really proud of the fact that in 2020, we were able to actually, the reduction in revenue was only 1.9%. We generated over $140 million worth of revenue. So we cannot absorb a $1 million reduction in personal services or other costs. We really do need funds for the STACAP assessment. With regards to computer modernization, I am finishing up an internal listening tour, having talked extensively to staff within the department and stakeholders. And what I am hearing is the pandemic has really revealed some challenges and opportunities. We have a significant titles backlog, for example. The dealers will tell you that they have been asking for a long time to start electronic titling. And so what we need to do is embark on some significant technology modernization. Now, of course, I will come to you with a plan for what we propose to do once we've had that internal technology planning process and completed that, and share with you what those costs will be. But given what you and I both know about the appropriations policy, appropriations process, and how technology acquisition needs to work and sort of the ramp up period, I think there is some need for some flexibility to make some of the improvements we can start to make now, because stakeholders are asking for automated services. They're asking us to make some improvements on our end with a variety of operations because they want to be able to do these more efficiently.
I'll follow up, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Yes, no, I have no issue with buying things that we need.
Yeah.
The issue is, and Secretary Dunlap came forward when we had to put a new roof on and said, this will be a one-time thing that we need $2 million to put a new roof on. And then the next year he came back and said, well, we need $2 million for something else. And I reminded him that he said this was a one-time thing. My issue here is now we're putting in language that allows whatever amount of money. This should be an appropriation. It should be in the regular budget. It should not be in language.
So just to share, the specific amount is 2.9 million, and approximately 1 million of that would be STACAP. We definitely need that to be carried forward as part of the
I have no problem. It's when there's millions of dollars being spent
Yeah.
And it's in language, not in an appropriated document. It should be an initiative here somewhere. It shouldn't be language that we have. You're telling us it's 2.9, whatever the number. If it's something that we need, I have no problem. I do have a problem with it being language, because this language changes it forever. And all of a sudden, the stuff money that needs to go into highway fund when we're short money is now getting diverted to other things.
Oh.
And all the surplus is supposed to go into highway fund.
This is probably because I'm new. It doesn't change it forever. It changes it for this budget period. It allows us to carry forward the savings that we achieved for this budget period, not forevermore to the future.
Well,
so
once
what we're
it's in
asking
language
for
and-
in
Right. Well,
2021
once it's in language, it's in language.
Oh,
But it should be a number. It
What we'll
shouldn't
do,
be.
excuse me, go
not a
ahead.
number.
Wayne, go ahead. You finished? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
all set.
What we'll do, Madam Secretary, is when we come back to work session, maybe we can get this cleared up and we can-
absolutely.
we'll
I'll
just-
follow up with you and we'll bring some materials to work session and see if we can rectify this issue. Absolutely. Thank you.
Other questions? Representative Martin had a question.
Yeah, just an observation, Mr. Chair. Thank you. This is in fact a public hearing, and we will have a great opportunity to discuss these challenges and questions during work session.
Yep. Thank you. Good point. Other questions from the committee? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, we appreciate your testimony. We look forward to seeing you in our work session. And thanks again for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Take care.
Absolutely. Our next presentation will be by the Commissioner of Transportation, Commissioner Van Note. If he's with us, welcome and good afternoon, Commissioner Van Note.
Thank you very much. I'm doing a Zoom check. Can everyone see and hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and other distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Bruce Van Note, and I'm the Commissioner of Transportation. I appear before you in support of LD 162, the Governor's Highway Fund Supplemental Budget, specifically those provisions that relate to DOT. I've always noted that supplemental budgets are often the very first budget that legislators get to look at, and it's kind of like doing reverse Zoom. You know, instead of starting from the big picture, you start at the ground and talk about something specific and zoom out. I'm not going to take a lot of time, and I want to make sure everybody there knows that I am not going to read 11 pages of testimony that I submitted. So you can rest assured that that's not going to happen.
That's really good. Thank you.
Yeah, but I do try to provide kind of the Google Earth from the big picture looking down before we get to it. And that's why you have those initial sections in the testimony talking about the broader fiscal context and trends. You've already heard about the loss of highway fund revenue due to the pandemic, and there are graphs on page 2 that show that. And just jumping all the way to, you know, the overall purpose of this supplemental budget is to obviously take care of the highway fund shortfall, but also to generate roughly $15 million to carry over into the next biennium to solve challenges there. And I will be spending what I know will seem like an inordinate amount of time talking about the Transcap Trust Fund, because that is the essential issue that causes us to ask you to not adopt certain provisions in here and to move them out. There are allocations to DOT that we're asking you not to do. This will be a first for me to do that, and so there'll be an explanation. Moving on to the kind of line by line of each of the 15 items that appears in both the printed bill. The reference numbers in my testimony that start on page 4 do refer to Suzanne's sheet that she sent out. And I'm sorry, Ms. Chairman, they don't refer to, we had an original draft that referred to the bill, and then we changed them to meet Suzanne's worksheet, so.
Well, please understand, that's fine. Just
Okay.
make sure the committee members can follow, and I'll just, because I'm following the bill itself, not what was given.
Yeah, well, this one,
As long as you do the reference number and then the heading, like we're going to start with Transcap, I suspect.
That is correct. The
Bruce.
first item is not under DOT, but it's under the Maine Municipal Bond Bank. It's on page 3 of Suzanne's, and it's listed as reference number 12.
And it's on page 2 of our bill, just for everybody. Okay.
Thank you. Next time, we'll have page numbers for both next time to try to make that easier. This is the first of 15 initiatives, and it relates to the Transcap Trust Fund, which we will talk about in some detail later. This is at the Maine Municipal Bond Bank. This is an increase in allocation of almost $600,000. And as Commissioner Figueroa said, that reflects the fact that there were 2 revenue forecastings that happened kind of off cycle. One late July and August, which showed right after traffic had tanked. The graph I showed you earlier of vehicle miles traveled, it was down just recently by almost 45%. And at that point, revenue forecasting obviously said this is going to be a big challenge. By December, it had rebounded some, and so revenue forecasting had recovered some. This $600,000 reflects that. As I will describe in a bit, Transcap Trust Fund allocations are essentially driven by highway fund revenue. So as highway fund revenue projections go up, so does the allocation of Transcap, and that's what this first initiative represents.
You know what, Commissioner, I think what we'll do is to save us fumbling back through this, since we have pages that don't necessarily come together. We'll do questions after each area of initiatives. You have more on Transcap?
Not on the first initiative of Transcap, no.
Questions from the committee on the first initiative presented by the commissioner? Seeing none. Thank you. You can proceed, please.
The second initiative, which is on Suzanne's sheet of reference 38, page 8 on her document.
That's page 6 for us on the committee.
Thank you. That relates to $381,610 by managing vacancies in the administration area. As longtime members of the Transportation Committee will know, we manage vacancies closely, especially in a pandemic, and we're running a vacancy rate roughly of 14% now. And instead of having that money tied up in personal services, we free it up often for capital needs, but in this case to help balance the budget. So although all provisions in a supplemental budget are one time, that is relatively routine. We come to you quite often with requests to free up money by managing vacancies. So I would consider this a relatively routine request, and we can achieve it given the vacancy rate that we have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Questions from the committee on this reference 38? Seeing none, please proceed.
Our third initiative, which is on Suzanne's sheet of 42 on page 8, which I assume is close to 6 or 7 on
Still
your.
page 6, yep, 43.
Okay. Is very similar, just in a different program. It's managing vacancies in our highway and bridge capital program. That's all our designers, our construction inspectors, right-of-way people. Those positions are split funded between the highway fund and federal funding. So by managing those positions, we can achieve savings in the highway fund. The same 14% overall vacancy rate at DOT allows us to do that. And again, we do this quite often, so it would be more routine than the one I'm about to talk about.
Yes. Joe, these are both under the highway bridge capital, so why don't you do both of those initiatives together?
Yeah, the next one is our fourth initiative, which is reference 43 on page 8 on Suzanne's sheet. This calls for a one-time allocation. In other words, adding to the highway and bridge capital program for reasons that I'm about to describe in some painstaking detail, because I think it will help both in this budget and in future budgets if I do. We are asking that you do not accept that one, that you move that out, therefore creating additional $2.5 million that will carry forward to the next biennial budget, which will be necessary to make allocations to the Transcap Trust Fund. For the reasons I'll go over now, I apologize in advance. This will seem somewhat technical and complicated. But from my perspective, if you just think of Transcap as solving two fundamental must-do budget things, which is debt service and light capital paving, it will help. That's where this all goes, is to Transcap debt service and light capital paving. The Transcap Trust Fund was established at the Maine Municipal Bond Bank almost 15 years ago. It was literally established by the predecessor of this committee, by LD 1790, and with unanimous vote, obviously went through the legislature. The very purpose of that committee was to take some funding off the top, if you will, to use for transportation capital purposes, both for to service Transcap revenue bonds that are issued by the Maine Municipal Bond Bank. Those are revenue bonds that are different than general obligation bonds issued by the state of Maine. Any revenue bond obviously needs a stream of revenue. And in accordance with standard revenue bond underwriting requirements, you generally need 2 times. You need 2 times the revenue going on, 2 times your debt service for you to get a good bond rating. By the way, this is graphically illustrated, if it helps you, in our Appendix D at the very back to show you all these kind of revenue streams. And you see the Transcap Trust Fund at the Maine Municipal Bond Bank on the left of that Appendix D. And you can see various allocations of revenue going into that Transcap Trust Fund. In fact, from 2008 to 2010, the legislature identified 3 separate revenue streams over there that are depicted on Appendix D and are outlined in the bullets on page 5 of my testimony. This mechanism, revenue bond mechanism, has been used several times for issuances totaling over $240 million since that time. And currently there's an outstanding balance of those bonds of around 105 million. Everything going over there is necessary to service those bonds and meet the 2 times test. Once that 2 times test is met, what we call residual cash, in other words, you don't have to keep building it up forever. It's only 1 year you have to have 2 times. It generates roughly half the money, flows back down to DOT by allocation. That is used for the light capital paving program. It doesn't provide all the funding for the light capital paving program, but it provides a very significant piece, which is important. As longtime members know, we manage more than half our system with a light capital paving program. It's traditionally been about 600 miles a year. In the MacGyver mode we're in right now, we're suggesting that goes up to 725 miles per year. At 50,000 a mile, you need a chunk of change to get that all done. So by language, we use that Transcap residual cash, we call it, for that program. So by doing this, we do 2 must-dos. We service debt service over for the Transcap bonds, must do. It's not really, have to do that. That's kind of off the top. And we provide funding for the light capital paving program. The various revenue streams that you see on Appendix B and are bulleted on page 5 are 3 different types that go over there. One is 7.5% of fuel tax, go right off the top over there. And as you can see, in the next biennium, that's projected to be $37.5 million. The next revenue stream is various BMV fees that are outlined in my testimony, but that's $33 million that's going over to Transcap. The issue that causes us to ask you to move things out is the third one. This bill was done, I recall it after having to go walk down memory lane. I remember it well. This bill was printed and passed on the same day, the last day of session, by Senator Damon and Senator Martin in order to provide some additional funding for highways. They changed the state police funding split from 60% highway fund to 49% highway fund to generate roughly $13.6 million to support a $50 million Transcap bond. When that bill was passed, the other 2 revenue streams that I've talked about, the sales tax, the gas tax and the BMV fees, those were in statutory language. This change in split and allocation was in unallocated language. That is the essential reason we're here today, and I'm asking you to move some things out. For the last 5 bienniums, that 13.6 odd million or whatever the state police split delta was, but was dedicated over to the Transcap Trust Fund. But this year, the budget office properly reading the background of that and says, there's nothing in here that says you have to do it. It's not statute. It's not allocated language. And so that led to a budgeting of only, instead of 13.6 million, the 4 million. Upon further research, there were memorandums of agreement, opinions of counsel, underwriting documents that made clear that we need to do the 13.6, but that wasn't clear in the statute. And so that's something we might want to think about at some point fixing. But right now, that's the essential reason I'm asking you to move things out right there, is that it was an unallocated language and instead of statute. So I apologize for that painstaking review, but that's the essential reason you're going to be hearing me ask you to move other things out. And when we get into our biennial budget, it will explain a change package that's forthcoming all together. So it all relates to that. So that's why I took the time to put all that background if you want it. So with that long explanation, we asked that, reference item 43 on page 8 be moved out at 2.5. Similarly, the next item.
Commissioner, thank you for those initiatives under the Highway and Bridge Capital. One question I noticed in your narrative regarding reference 42 was the current vacancy numbers, I think around 293, the number I got from the department. Does that ring a bell with you?
It's actually.
And my question though, it said 293 full-time. And then when it's compared to the total number of vacancies, the 2,000, they were referenced as full-time equivalents. I just want to make sure, was that just are they both the same, or you were actually distinguishing between?
Nope, apples to apples, they're both FTE.
Yeah, okay.
And actually the latest number is something like 273. Karen Doyle is on with the, you never come on here without being able to phone a friend. And she had already texted me that saying that you would ask that, so.
Okay. Questions from the committee on those references 42, 43 under the Highway, Bridge and Capital? Seeing none. On we go, Commissioner.
Thank you. With that, that's the last of the detailed historical type things, because the next one is a similar capital allocation, but this is to the Highway Light Capital Program, which is essentially the light capital paving program. This had a one-time allocation of 6.5 million, which is a plus, but we're asking you to move it out. For the reasons I just said, we have to create balance forward so that we can make the Transcap. And recall from the Appendix B that money, about 10 million, is coming into light capital anyway from Transcap. So it's not like you're losing it. We're always looking to fundraise for the light capital paving program, because that's really, you can't use federal or bond funds, or you shouldn't, it's not prudent, for something that only lasts 7 years. It's like getting a 10-year mortgage on a 7-year car. It's just not a prudent financial move. And federal funds are looking for more longer term useful lives. So the cash is important. And thankfully, one of the reasons we can get by this year is because on December 27th, the former president signed the third or fifth, like CRESA, it's called, the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation. And in that, there was some flexible money, or we believe it's flexible. We're still awaiting guidance. We think we can make the light capital paving program whole with that federal money this year. So that's why we're asking for you to move that out. It's required by underwriting guidance, and we think we have another solution that we will be bringing to you when we discuss either a work session on this bill or in the next biennial, depending on when we get guidance.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee on the light capital paving? Yes, Representative Perry.
Yeah, Commissioner, real quick. But with these, I'll call them deallocations, it's not affecting work, correct? It's not something that you would be doing in April that you can't do if this money comes out.
It could have been a problem, but for the Cressa relief funding
Okay.
that came in December. And that's why it's a timing issue. We normally put these things together weeks and months before we come to you.
Right.
That bill was just signed on the 27th of December. And so we're still trying to get guidance. So we think we're good. And we know that the light capital program is a high priority for the committee. It always has been. And we have a plan that we'll be able to describe as soon as we get some guidance.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we're all set to go ahead.
Thank you. The next initiative is reference number 35 on page 9. It's the Local Road Assistance Program.
Page 7 for committee members, so if anybody's watching that.
Yep. That's in the amount of $1,066,382. This program, I'll just describe a little bit because it's always of interest, local road assistance, how much money is coming home. But it's one where you almost always have multiple items in the budget. And the reason is local road assistance is defined by how much money DOT gets. Basically 9% of DOT's allocation, that is the local road assistance program. So if DOT allocations go up, so does local road assistance. If DOT allocations go down, you'll find that's usually the very last item when we balance a budget because you have to be all done to know it. This particular one is a reduction based on cuts we already knew about. You know, cuts that because of DOT allocations going down, this is the 9% of those allocations at DOT. And so this is a reduction. Again, this is all defined by law and just think DOT total allocations, 9%, that's local road assistance. So this is tracking what's happening to the rest of us.
And we have one more, and then we'll ask if we have any questions. I think 36 comes under that as well.
Yep, 36 is also local road assistance. And this is one where, remember the allocations we just talked about that I asked you to move out? Those were going to be more money to DOT, right? So this was the one that said, okay, there's more money for local road assistance. Given that we're saying, don't give us that money, this is the analog saying the locals don't get more money too. So number 7 tracks all the ones that I just asked you to move out previously in the highway, the 3 items, the 2 previous items that roughly add up to 9% of those items is this allocation. So this is the one we're asking you to move out because we're not getting the additional money that we just asked you to move out. And I apologize for that. You'll always have multiple local road assistance things because as we move, it moves every time.
Questions from the committee under the local road assistance? Seeing that, yes, Representative Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, the third item that you are recommending moving out, you're talking about the $1.47 million.
That is correct, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Reference 36 on page 9 of Suzanne's sheet.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, thankfully, that's the complicated ones. You know, the other ones are a little bit more routine, but some are of interest. The next 4 initiatives all relate to the maintenance and operations program. These are things that we are often forced to do. We don't like to do, but are often forced to do when money gets tight, which as this committee knows, money is always tight on highway fund cash. The first of those 4 maintenance and operations program initiatives is reference number 30 on page 9 of Suzanne's sheet for $2 million. This is a one-time reduction achieved by deferring the purchase of heavy trucks. To give you the background on that, we have lots of heavy equipment, including about 450 plow trucks. We generally like to purchase enough every year so that they have anywhere between a 13 to 15-year useful life. They cost roughly $250,000 a piece once they're all done. So $2 million, you can do the math. It's about 8 trucks we're going down. And we would prefer to do, 30 to 35 in a biennium, but we have to make adjustments. It's not sustainable long-term, but this program has gone up and down over the years, and it's something we can weather. So it's a kind of a routine, unfortunately routine thing that we do in MacGyver mode. The next initiative is similar. This is amounts. We manage our fleet through the Fleet Services Internal Service Fund. This is a reduction from amounts going from that maintenance and operations fund over to that internal service fund. So it relates to what we we're just talking about. The last one, these are all in the category of deferring capital purchases that you do when you get into a tough place. And the next initiative, number 32 on page 10, is $500,000 from our Transportation Facilities Fund. DOT has 600 buildings statewide. By the way, those vary from, this headquarters building down the street from the State House to a shed. That's, we put a number on all of them. So it's not like we have 600 office buildings, but shockingly, DOT puts a number on them and puts them in an asset management program. This cuts $500,000 from this account. And we'll defer some long-term maintenance on some buildings. The next initiative is similar. This is for small equipment purchases, things like chainsaws or a trailer, those kinds of things. They're not the big heavy fleet, it's small equipment, and this calls for a reduction of $300,000. So those four all are things that are not easy, but they are unfortunately have become places. I've had to go there 3 or 4 times in my career because you got to do something. So that's it for maintenance.
Commissioner, thank you very much. Are there questions under the maintenance for the commissioner? Moment. Seeing none, we're all set to go forward.
The next two relate to our multimodal programs. First reference number 40 on page 10 of Suzanne's sheet, or 603, 599 for the multimodal freight. This is a program that addresses grade crossings of railroads and highways. And quite simply, it used to be that we used highway fund money because it was within a highway. Given the shortage of highway fund right now, as has been described before, we're talking about using multimodal money or rail funds to do that same program. And so this doesn't result in a reduction of effort. It results in a swap from multimodal fund for this rail crossing program. So that's more of a fund shift. In a similar vein, this is significant. Number 45 on page 10. This is a one-time reduction of highway fund and a one-time use of multimodal island ferry service, multimodal transportation funds to fund the main state ferry service for 1 year. This is the subsidy. As the committee will recall, for many years, up to 50%, the state ferry service is subsidized pursuant to the statute listed in my testimony, and it may not exceed 50% of budgeted revenues. That has historically been provided by the highway fund. This calls for using multimodal transportation funds on a one-time basis. This was made available, the multimodal transportation. This is not sustainable. This is not something that we can do every year. This is a one-time thing to address a historic drop in highway fund revenue. I mean, it's the graph I provided earlier in my testimony. It's never dropped that fast, that quick. Normally, highway fund is The general fund is kind of like the hare that bounces around, and the highway fund was just a turtle that usually went up about 1.5% a year, or 3% for a biennium. This year it went down 4%. It's just never seen it, including the Great Recession of 2008. We've never seen anything like it. And so given the series of poor choices that we had ahead of us, this was a proposal that we put into the curtailment to one time keep the ferry service, no ferry service cuts, but shift the funding. So that's it for that item and those two multimodal items.
Thank you. Questions from the committee on either one of these initiatives? Multimodal? Seeing none, Commissioner, we can.
I have one.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Representative Williams.
It took me a while to unmute myself.
Okay.
Mr. Commissioner, what assures us that these are both one-time, because I'm new to this, so it may be just an easy answer, but what assures us that these are just one-time situations? Not that there won't be enough funding, but that they're taking out of, the funds are being taken out of the multimodal.
Right. No, I understand that the funding will be required to provide the service. You're absolutely right. I think the best assurance is that you control the next biennial budget as well. And if you see this happening more than one time, that's the time to go, well, this is one time, is it?
Thank you.
Just by way of complete disclosure, which I try to do, the ferry service, no way at $6 million, the multimodal fund can take that kind of hit. I mean, it just can't forever. It can, it's one time. There is a policy question to have about the rail crossing program that I talked about at 600,000. That might be something that we sit there and consider for future years. So I just, from my perspective, that is something in the realm. Grade crossings are critical to both the highway system and the rail system. And so that one is more susceptible to considering long-term would be the rail crossing program, the 600, not the ferry service.
Thank you. Yeah, other questions from the committee? Seeing none, all set, Commissioner.
The last two are language items, which as you did with Secretary Bellows, I'll just go ahead and cover.
Mhm.
Part B is on page 12 of Part B language. This was the use of bond funding to fund an entire year of the local road assistance program. This was an emergency measure that DOT actually proposed way back in FY20, in March, April, when this was happening. We could foresee bad things are happening with the highway fund. Local road assistance is a capital program. It's just capital done at the local level. It is capable of being bonded. This had been done by the committee once before in a prior session as a budget balancing measure. And so we proposed this, and this was actually executed by financial order in FY20 and as part of the curtailment to create balance forward to help address this problem. What this language does is acknowledges that and brings that unencumbered balance that's now in the local road assistance program, because we use bonding instead of highway fund cash, and brings it forward to help address both the shortfall and our need for the next biennium. So we actually, when we did this, we not only, I communicated throughout to the members of the 129th Transportation Committee that this was happening, because we weren't in session, but I just wanted people to know that this is kind of a big deal and this is what we're doing. We also communicated with the Maine Municipal Association when we did it, and just said, this is not a shift to bonding forever. This is something we need to get through, and it won't hurt you in terms of local funding. It's still a dollar for you to use, and there was no big, huge reaction over there. So just let you know that I know it was significant, but it was supported by previous policy decisions of this committee, and we let Maine Municipal know. So that's a big one.
Yep.
And the second one is similar but much smaller amount. This is just, again, trying to use unencumbered balance in the bond interest line of $70,000 and making it available to the challenge. That was not done by financial, or it's being done by this budget. So sorry for, DOT represents about 78% of all highway fund allocations. And unfortunately, that has usually meant that we talk about 5 times longer than anyone else because of all the items we have. And I apologize for that, especially for the Transcap Revenue Fund. But I believe having that history available for you will be useful, not only on this budget, but future budgets, because there's a lot to talk about with Transcap. I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Well done, and we appreciate your time. Before you leave on that one, though, have you ever examined the guidelines of bonding so they might be somewhat liberalized, a little more flexible to give you more flexibility on how you apply bond money?
Yes, we have. That's a delicate area that has legal and policy implications. But yes, we looked into currently all our capital production staff here, our designers, our right-of-way people, all those people who are paid, are state employees and are paid a salary. They are paid with cash, both highway fund cash and federal funds. The big blue wedge on Appendix A that we show there, that's the federal and highway fund cash. But paradoxically, if you hire consultants, you can use bond money for the exact same work.
Exactly.
For the exact same work. So the question was, can we use bond money to pay some people that are doing the exact same work that consultants do?
Yes.
You have to be you can. The bottom line answer is yes, you can. But I understand why people want to be very cautious doing that. You don't want to start bonding ongoing payroll that you can't with bond funds, right? Because someday interest rates will go up and someday the voters might say no to a transportation bond, and there you go. So a policy judgment was made not to pursue that at this time so that we could have more conversations with bond underwriters and that stuff to make sure it doesn't spook them to do that. Because what they don't want you to do, obviously, is use bond funds for ongoing programs, bonding. So bonding payroll makes them nervous. But if you say, no, you're bonding design of a capital project, that does not make them nervous. So yes, we looked into it. It's legally possible, but I understand it was decided not to go there yet.
Okay. What is the interest right now that bonds are paying on bonds?
Ooh. Under 2, maybe close to 1. Depends. There has never been, as this committee knows well, I would much prefer to have cash revenue to bonds to plan on things. But there's never been, the need has never been higher and interest rates have never been lower right now. This is a great time to lock some money up long-term.
Good. Again, any further questions of the commissioner from the committee? Seeing none, thank you, Commissioner.
Representative Perry.
Representative Perry, I didn't see it. I don't see it. But anyway, Representative Perry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, have you had any luck on possibly putting that smaller bond in front of us fairly soon for a June vote? Or is it going to end up all being November?
Do not yet know, Representative. I expect there will be a June component because we need it. I mean, I prefer November long-term, just so everybody knows right out there. I prefer November because then we know we have the money, we give you our work plan and we spend the money the next year. That's a better cadence. But last year, because of the pandemic in the earlier than expected July vote, we used about 50 million of that money last year to keep going and actually add some work. It was prudent, it was the right thing to do, but now it puts us on kind of a June cycle. We need it again, and so I believe the governor will be putting out her bond package later this month, and you'll see that then. And I expect there'll be a June component.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Final questions of the commissioner? Seeing none. Commissioner, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. It's great to see you all.
We appreciate all the information you've given us today. Thank you. I think that wraps us up. I don't know. I don't see anyone else who is testifying, nor do I see any other agenda items having to do with LD 162. That being the case, close the public hearing on.
I was on mute. Maria Fuentes is sitting there in queue.
Oh, she is?
Yep.
Well, Maria, welcome.
Oh, she what? There we go.
Shoot.
She got-
Thank
oh,
you.
I'm sorry.
Good afternoon. Mine won't take long. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and distinguished committee members. My name is Maria Fuentes, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Maine Better Transportation Association today in support of LD 162. MBTA is a statewide organization, and our members are organizations and individuals who plan, design, build, maintain, and use the state's transportation network. Including equipment dealers, engineering and construction firms, public works directors, bus, rail, and aviation interests, and others. I'm not in a position to add anything about the 15 initiatives that the commissioner just addressed, but we did want to point out our serious concerns about the health of the highway fund. And since this is the biennial and not the supplemental budget, I will hold off until the biennial to address most of those. But I did want to share some information. First of all, just last month, the Road Information Program, TRIP, did a report for Maine, and they calculated the hidden costs to Maine people of deficient roads, which on a statewide basis is now $1.3 billion annually. This represents things such as additional vehicle operating costs resulting from driving on rough roads and the financial cost of accidents. In Bangor, that cost is $1,561 per person. In Lewiston, Auburn, it's $1,273. And in Portland, it is $1,392. The study also noted that due to underfunding, 44% of major roads in Maine are in poor or mediocre condition, and that Maine has 13% of its bridges rated in poor or structurally deficient condition, and that is the 6th highest in the nation. Safety is also a factor. Certainly the rural road numbers didn't look good. In 2018, the fatality rate on Maine's rural roads was more than 3.5 times higher than all the other roads in the state. But I did want to remind especially the new committee members of the great work of the Blue Ribbon Commission on Transportation Funding, 3 members of which still serve on this committee. The commission was made up of key legislators, along with private sector, municipal, and alternative mode representatives, as well as the Maine Turnpike Authority and director and the DOT commissioner. And they worked mightily for months to look at the funding conundrum that DOT faces. Notably, they unanimously agreed that the funding gap is $232 million annually if you assume an annual $100 million bond issue on top of that. And while they weren't able to reach consensus on exactly the mechanisms needed to fill the gap, they had many productive discussions and agreed on many important principles. Because of their great work, we hope you'll consider using that study and the results as a springboard for discussion of a funding package for Maine. And if this isn't the year to do this, then it would be helpful to know when would be a good year and how to prepare for that year. I've been certainly around long enough to know that raising revenues is always a big lift, and perhaps it's impossible during a pandemic. But I was thinking about this the other day. I don't really know when the right time is, because I've always assumed that an election year is not the right time, or it's not a great time, or it's not a great time when you have a new governor, or when there's an economic downturn. So our hope is that this committee will lead the way in at least having a discussion of the task force's findings, knowing that no funding package would be successful, number one, if it weren't bipartisan, and secondly, if it didn't have the support of the administration. It would also be helpful to know from the committee or get some guidance on how the transportation community can work with you to move forward on this critical issue. And with that, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to testify on this bill and for all the work you do to advance transportation in Maine.
Thank you, Ms. Fuentes, and I apologize for not seeing you on my list. It was there looking right at me, but I just didn't see it, so I apologize for that.
No problem at all. Thank you, Senator.
Are there questions from the committee, Ms. Fuentes? Seeing none, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Are there others that I missed that Darlene, that are scheduled?
Nope, you're good.
Good.
You can
Thank you
really
very-
bang the gavel.
Thank you very much. That will then end the, by the way, any opposition to LD 162?
There's nobody else.
Those would to oppose, and I want to say it anyway, those who would like to speak to the phone or against, seeing none, all those in favor of ending this committee, done. Okay, now, we're gonna take a 5-minute break while I gather my materials for the next one, so if anybody wants to do anything for 5 minutes, now's the time.
Oh, shoot. How we doing?
Everybody's gone except for the people waiting. Pretty much everybody's gone for a minute.
Fine? Okay, we'll get another couple minutes.
The screens are all black.
Okay.
Senator Merrimont's, well, he's nearby. His picture's there.
It's nice to have you.
Representative Williams is here. Nope. here
Yeah, I'm
comes
still
Senator
here.
Chipman.
Yeah, I'm hanging around waiting. My picture's better than the real thing.
Absolutely.
You know why? Because I'm sitting here eating the snack I would have had to bring if we were in person. So I'm getting good stuff and just eating it up myself.
There are advantages, aren't there, Senator?
That's right.
Senator Diamond, on this one, I've pulled everybody in because there's only 5 people.
Right, okay, that's good. Thank you. Let me know when most of the folks have returned.
Yep.
Representative Martin is here, I see.
Where's got littler?
Yes, he's got Littler.
Well, that's because I pulled everybody in for the next bill.
He's also named Darlene, so that's good.
Oh, uh-oh. Yeah, well, this is all the people that couldn't get their, find their invites or had issues. All right, we'll fix them.
How we doing? We okay, Darlene?
Hold on. I can multitask, but not that good. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. We got 5 up.
Am I back?
Anybody? Yeah. Anybody else hiding? Well, we've already started, so you actually
I
you
know,
can go.
I told him
Oh,
5.
I know.
But I think we've given enough time. Okay,
Hey, I'm still here too, guys.
Okay, very good.
nice. Okay, now we'll open a public hearing on LD 234, an act to amend the law concerning the annual number of ferry service trips to Matinicus Isle. It's presented by the Representative Matlack of St. George. Good afternoon, Representative.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and respected members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Ann Matlack, and I represent House District 92, which includes the communities of Matinicus, Cree Haven, the Muscle Ridge Islands, Cushion, Thomaston, South Thomaston, St. George. I am here this afternoon to introduce LD 234, an act to amend the law concerning the annual number of ferry service trips to Matinicus Isle. As a bit of background, the state of Maine has been providing ferry service to Matinicus since 1979, when a private and special law determined that there shall be a ferry service to Matinicus on a monthly basis, provided either by state ferries, state vessels, or through private contracts. In 1989, the number of runs out to Matinicus was modified from once a month to up to 24 times a year. The wording of the bill also allowed ferry runs to be more frequent at some times of the year and less frequent at others. The frequency of ferry runs to Matinicus was again modified in 1999 to increase the cap from 24 times per year to 36 times per year. Since 1979, much has changed in how ferry service is provided to the islands off the coast. Today, we are requesting that the upper cap on the number of ferry runs to Matinicus annually be removed to better reflect the safety of modern ferry service and the changing needs of those who live on and travel to Matinicus. We are requesting that the arbitrary limit be lifted. This limit was set more than 20 years ago, and that trips to Matinicus be based on the recommendations of professional staff and the needs of the community. I thank you for your time this afternoon. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much for that presentation. We appreciate it. Are there questions from the committee? If not, I don't see any. We certainly welcome you back for the work session when we discuss this bill. Thank you very much. Are there any co-sponsors of LD 234 who would like to present?
Senator Marmont.
Senator Marmont?
Yep.
Hello, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and distinguished members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Dave Marmont, and I proudly represent all the people of Appleton, Camden, Cree Haven, Cushing, Friendship, Hope, Idaho, Matinicus, Muscle Ridge Islands, North Haven, Owl's Head, Rockland, Rockport, South Thomaston, St. George, Thomaston, Union, Vinyl Haven, and Warren in the Maine Senate. Representative Matlack and I were informed of a line in Maine statute that put an upper limit on the number of trips that the Maine State Ferry Service may operate to the island of Matinicus. While there's currently no conflict with existing operations, practices, technology, and the needs of the islanders or the Maine State Ferry Service should dictate the number of trips. The ability to remain flexible is a necessity in maritime operations and does not need to be in law. We feel the number of trips should become discretionary, as the formula already has numerous consideration. And as we've seen in these challenging times, the less things that have to come before the legislature that can be resolved locally, the better, in what my experience has been lately. Thank you for your consideration, and I'll try to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Marmont, and welcome again. We're glad to have you with us. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. You're welcome to.
Thank you.
All right. Are there others who would testify as proponents of LD 234?
We have Eva Murray.
Eva Murray. Ms. Murray, welcome.
Hello. Okay, let's get rid of this.
Oh, there you are.
Right. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Eva Murray. I live on the island of Matinicus. I appear before you today in support of LD 234, an act to amend the law concerning the annual number of ferry service trips to Matinicus Isle. I happen to also be the chair of the Maine State Ferry Service Advisory Board, but I appear as a Matinicus Island citizen rather than as a representative of that advisory board. And I would like to offer some background. I'm not going to read the entire 2 pages that I sent in as written testimony. I will abbreviate some of the first page, which is basically background about Matinicus. But if there's anybody who would like me to read more, I can certainly do that. Matinicus Island, which lies roughly 20 miles south-southeast of Rockland, is certainly among the most remote of Maine's communities. Often we discover that when somebody has visited one Maine island, they think they know about all of the Maine islands, and that islands are essentially the same in transportation requirements, logistics, economy, or demographics. This is absolutely not the case. Matinicus is not a community of retirees nor of well-to-do estate owners, and we see very little tourism. Our only local industry is the lobster fishery, and thus many families do have their own boat. To be clear, nobody here relies on the Maine State Ferry Service as their only access to the mainland. Mail and freight such as UPS is ordinarily delivered to the island on a small airplane. Think Alaska bush pilot type operation. For Matinicus, the ferry service is primarily about moving vehicles and the sort of freight which must be delivered by vehicles: propane and heating oil, building materials, appliances, trash and recycling, and the ordinary maintenance needs of each island homeowner who does not happen to own a lobster boat. Ferries bound for Matinicus are typically loaded with pickup trucks carrying homeowners, small farmers, or contractors' supplies, and there's usually a box truck for the recycling, or a lumberyard delivery truck, or maybe an excavator or the like in the center. What is different, and why has our need for ferry trips crept up gradually to the point where 36 trips per year may no longer be adequate? A couple of generations ago, when ferry service here was first organized, many things were done in what we would call an informal way on this island. Regulatory agencies didn't take much notice of this remote place, and many islanders had the idea that they were not really part of civilization. Boat owners could carry passengers and freight for hire without the expensive demands of modern safety equipment. Fuel could be stored and sold by most anybody with less concern about licensing and environmental regulations, and everybody burned their trash in a barrel in the dooryard, or they just pitched it overboard. Those days are behind us. The larger community then also supported a general store. Now, Matinicus boasts a robust recycling and solid waste system where material is trucked off the island by me. The community has regular need for propane, heating oil, and firewood delivery trucks. Homeowners are building and improving their residences to make them more winter-friendly and energy efficient. There is a municipal need to improve and maintain the roads and the 1,600-foot gravel airstrip for the air taxi service which brings our mail, without the availability of island gravel pits, which were open years ago but are no longer. And we now see inspected, insured, mainland vehicles going back and forth on the ferries, rather than just the historical island beaters which traveled one way only and would never manage a sticker. Clearly, more vehicle ferry trips are needed than were needed years ago, even though the island population remains quite small. The ferry service manager and Rockland port captain have also made clear that because our ferry vessel, the Everett Libby, is relatively small, only the shortest vessel in the fleet will fit into our harbor, and sea conditions surrounding Matinicus can be quite unlike the more sheltered waters in other places. A limit to the number of high-profile or heavy trucks on each trip serves the interest of safety. Also, the presence of a fuel truck puts limits on other vehicles and passengers due to Coast Guard safety regulations. More need for trucks, then, requires more ferry trips. We have seen an increase in the need for trucks over the past few years. We still don't need that many ferries. With it being a 5-hour round trip and limited tidal access to our wharf, nobody on Matinicus is anticipating this becoming a daily commuter run. We are asking that ferry service management and the MDOT be allowed to determine our schedule based on demonstrated need, without an arbitrary cap on service. We understand that other issues may restrict increases in service, budgetary limitations, crew availability, and the like, but the 36 trip cap is nothing but a leftover bit of language from decades ago when that sounded like a lot, and that upper limit serves no purpose. As the Matinicus representative to the Maine State Ferry Advisory Board, it has been my duty to request a couple of additional trips each year over the past few years on behalf of our community, which Manager Mark Higgins and Port Captain Dan McNichol have been able to schedule for us. In 2020, we reached this statutory limit. As I speak, we are experiencing a shortage of truck space in 2021 spring ferries for this year already. That means people are trying to get reservations and cannot. Nobody else is disadvantaged if Matinicus gets, for example, 38 or 40 trips over the course of a year rather than 36. There is no zero-sum game, and we are not interfering with ferry service to any other community. The 36-trip statutory cap is language left over from a time when 36 trips probably sounded like the sun and the moon and the stars. There's no need for an upper limit in statute, as we are certain that the Maine State Ferry Service Management will schedule service for us based only on anticipated actual need. They are certainly not inclined to run that boat if the trip is shown to be truly useful. It sometimes is no pleasure excursion. This concludes my testimony. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Murray, for that testimony. It's very helpful. We appreciate it. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Are there others who would testify as proponents on LD 234?
Nick Batista.
Nick Batista. Welcome, Mr. Batista.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Nick Batista, and I'm the Senior Policy Officer at the Island Institute. The Island Institute is supporting LD 234. We're a 37-year-old nonprofit organization based in Rockland, Maine. We work to sustain Maine's island and coastal communities and are committed to a just, resilient, and vibrant future for the coast. Well, broadband's foundational to the future of our state, and everybody needs internet connectivity. Sometimes you also need that physical connectivity, and the Maine State Ferry Service provides that physical connection for Matinicus, particularly for the trucks and the freight that Eva was mentioning. We greatly appreciate Commissioner Van Note's attention to the Maine State Ferry Service and his willingness to discuss issues around the current and future state of the ferry service. It's great to have a commissioner who understands that the ferry service is really important to the state. LD 234 removes the arbitrary statutory cap on the number of trips the Maine State Ferry Service can provide to Matinicus, and then would allow the conversations to happen between the parties that are best suited to have them. The Maine State Ferry Service, as Eva mentioned, is advised by the advisory board, and that board regularly meets and reviews operational matters and highlights specific needs and concerns arising from each community. Because the Maine State Ferry Service doesn't break down expenses by route, but rather operates the service as a whole entity, there shouldn't be any concerns about an added fiscal impact from this legislation. Eva spoke about why this was important to the community and the operational considerations related to ensuring safe operations, and would let her speak for the community. She does a good job, at least talking about why this is needed. I urge you to support LD 234 and not be distracted by issues that aren't clearly contained in the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, are there questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time. I believe that ends the proponents who are scheduled to speak. And I do not see any opponents, but I'll ask the question anyway. Anybody speaking in opposition in case I miss anybody? Seeing none, those who would speak neither for nor against. Ms. Russo, department.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let me pull up my testimony. Oops. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Megan Russo. I am the legislative liaison for Maine DOT. I am before you today neither for nor against LD 234. Like the bill this committee heard 2 weeks ago, LD 234 proposes changes to Title 23, Section 4401, the section of statute that outlines the service that Maine DOT provides to several island communities through the Maine State Ferry Service. Current statute states that it is the duty of Maine DOT to operate a ferry route between the mainland and the towns of North Haven, Vinyl Haven, Islesboro, Matinicus, and Swans Island. In addition, the statute states that the department may operate a ferry route to and from Frenchboro. Specific to the service to Matinicus Isle, the statute states that the ferry service must run at least 12 times per year and may run up to 36 times per year. LD 234 proposes removing the upper limit of trips, striking the language that caps the number of annual ferry trips at 36. By way of background, according to Maine state statute, up to 50% of the operational costs of the ferry service is subsidized by the Highway Fund. The other 50% must come from Maine state ferry service revenues, which are generated by ticket sales and parking fees. Additionally, Maine DOT covers 100% of all capital costs associated with the service. This includes the cost of new boats, terminals, piers, and other infrastructure. As this committee is aware, Maine's transportation funding challenges are daunting, and the ongoing pandemic has compounded these challenges. Just as statewide traffic volumes have decreased on Maine's roadways, so too have Maine State Ferry Service ridership levels dropped. Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, passenger trips are down by 31% and vehicle trips are down by 11%. This has resulted in an estimated revenue loss and additional unplanned subsidy of more than $3 million. Prior to the pandemic, the Maine State Ferry Service had already been dealing with reduced ridership and increased costs. While this bill does not dictate the level of service to Matinicus, any increase of service beyond traditional levels to any of the islands is not financially practical right now. The Maine State Ferry Service currently provides vehicular ferry service to Matinicus Isle, scheduling 35 trips per year, 1 trip a month in December, January, and February, 2 trips a month in March and November, and 4 trips a month from April through September. Matinicus is the longest trip made by the ferry service. The island is 23 miles from Rockland, and a one-way trip takes 2 hours and 15 minutes. This trip is complicated by a shallow island landing, which requires a smaller vessel and special attention to the tides. With the smaller vessel traveling further than other routes in open ocean conditions, this trip is more susceptible to weather cancellations. The Maine State Ferry Service makes every effort to reschedule canceled trips and may add extra requested trips. Due to the infrequent nature of the Matinicus schedule and the special vessel, a crew is assembled from off-duty crew personnel who work in overtime status. Due to this bill not requiring additional levels of service to Matinicus and the ongoing ability of the Maine State Ferry Service to determine the number of ferry trips that is financially feasible, we remain neither for nor against this legislation. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have or bring additional information to the work session.
Thank you, Ms. Russo, for that testimony. Questions from the committee? Yes, Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Megan, on that. I guess a question and a request a little bit. I've tried to get up to speed a little bit more on the ferry service and some of the challenges that are being faced. We tabled the bill on the Frenchboro bill last time, and I guess I'd make a request to the chairs that maybe we should work these 2 bills together, and a request to Ms. Russo that the commissioner be attending our work session, because he's been mentioned a couple times on the support and some of the challenges, and so I'd make the request that the commissioner be available, and the chair's thoughts on maybe working these bills together.
Absolutely. So noted, Senator. Good thoughts. Other questions from the committee? Seeing none, I think.
Representative Martin has one.
Representative Martin, you don't come up. I don't know. Representative Martin, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe some actual budget information would be great, and I apologize if I didn't have it with me and it was sent out, but just the ridership, what's coming in, what the cost share is amongst the island.
Tom, we're having a little difficulty understanding what you're saying. I'm not sure what the problem is, but did you get that, Ms. Russo? Maybe
Yep,
not?
I think he wants us to bring budget information to the work session. Some of maybe differentiating between the islands possibly. If that was what he was asking?
what you said?
We'll have information with us for sure.
I got the thumbs up, so I think that was good. Thank you, Representative Martin. Other questions from the committee? Not see any others. So thank you very much, Ms. Russo, for that.
All right, thank you.
And that's the last of our scheduled registered testifiers. So that would end that. Any further questions overall that anybody from the committee? Seeing none, we close the public hearing on LD 234. Representative Martin.
No, thank you, Senator. Just a housekeeping comment before we adjourn. I'm not sure if other committee clerks are doing likewise, but I really appreciate Darlene sending us Zoom invites the day of the public hearing. I don't know about you guys, but I get about 40, 50 emails a day, and it's hard to keep track. On another matter, in regards, Darlene, to LD 162, I noticed that we had two different documents. The department heads had one document and Bill and I had something else. Is that a matter of my not having downloaded the correct document?
I forwarded what Suzanne Voynick uses, because that's
Okay.
what she wanted you to have, and that's what we'll use for the
Oh.
work sessions.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
And
Yeah, Danny, just so you'll know, I used the 162 right out of the bill research. And so that's how I got to where I was on it. I mean, I can transition that over easy enough.
Likewise, I just wondering if in fact you send Darlene's, Suzanne's document, I wonder if you could resend that to us so we'll all be on the same page during the work.
not to cut you off, but during the work session, Suzanne emailed it all back out to you guys again. So you have a brand new one.
Thank you so much.
Somewhere's in limbo in emails, which shut down today, by the way. That's why some of you couldn't find the invites.
Karen Nitto, analyst, has a question or a comment.
Just a comment. I'm guessing that the two different budget documents, one was the actual pages from the budget bill, and the other one may have been the report back template, so it has the same information. It's just slightly different format.
That's right. I think we actually can use them together, but anybody who wants to put them all on one page, we can take care of that for sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sam's got his hand up too.
Sam, yes.
Sam.
We've got all the analysts chiming in. I also wanted to note that the document Suzanne was working off and as well as the printed one are both available on the committee webpage. And if people need a reminder of how to access that, I can follow up with an email as well.
Please do that, Sam, just in case.
Okay.
Anything else, Sam, for us?
That's all I got.
Karen, you're all set? Karen's good. Okay, Darlene, any last comments?
Nope, I think we're good.
Good. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us. Maybe it's one of our longer meetings, but we appreciate you all. And we'll see you next Tuesday. That would be, what day is that on the Tuesday? Is that
The 16th?
Yep.
Excellent. The 16th. We'll see you all then. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
right,
just
see you
so
guys.
No committee clerks in the building on Monday. It's a holiday. No staff.
Thank
on
you.
building.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
See you later. Thanks.
Glad you could make it, Representative O'Connell.